So that video was a little bit of a taste. After a really long year of traveling, spent the last 2.5 weeks of December traveling with 28 students. I don't have children, so luckily they weren't my responsibility. Along with the great SCAD team. And it was to do field research on experiential retail in Shanghai and in Singapore. And you know, for us, SCAD has become a really important partner. It was a cold call out to Melanie Moore, who's now the dean of the Desolé Business School. You know, 2 days later, she had me on the phone with a PowerPoint. A month later, she had me in SCAD for a week as a mentor for senior projects. And then I was flying halfway around the world for 2.5 weeks. So when Melanie calls, we sort of say yes. We've also had a lot of SCAD students come through our business as interns. We have a SCAD graduate that's on our team, on the marketing team. So this was a really interesting trip. You know, I also think I get more out of this relationship than I give because I always leave inspired by these students. And I can also say that I've made some good friendships along the way. So if you ever have a chance to go down to Savannah and see SCAD, the Southern hospitality is real. And I don't think I'm speaking out of school when they would love to say that they would love to have you. So, you know, this fireside chat is with Melanie Keys, and we want to share the framework and methodology for the field research that we did, which resulted in a report called The Future of Experiential Retail, Gen Z Insights from Shanghai and Singapore, and we're releasing it today. So there's a QR code. There's also, we have an activation. Some of the students kind of brought the trends to life in the other room. I also want to take a minute to thank the BeautyMatter community that showed up in support of this adventure. Mintel in Singapore and in Shanghai, also Coach, William Lau from Yusha Paul, and Bonnie and Clyde shared his entrepreneurial sort of journey and what they're building there. Red Ant Asia and their team were fantastic, giving insights to the students on the market. Gabby Chen from Florasis gave an inside look to what Sea Beauty is. And you know, without them, they were such a huge part of this experience for the students. So, you know, before we dive in, I want to give you a chance to tell us a little bit about SCAD, because I think one of the interesting things is not only the approach to education, but also how professors find their way there. Because most of the professors don't come from academia, they actually come from business. And I think the difference is really palpable. So Melanie, can you tell us a little bit about how you found your way to SCAD?
Sure. So, good morning. You know, I fell into retail by accident and fell in love with this industry as a buyer merchant many moons ago, taking a course in college. And so through that, cut my teeth here in New York City for many years as a buyer merchant for Saks, Macy's, Coach, companies of that sort. And then a through line in all the work that I've done has always been mentorship and development. And so in anything I've done, either, you know, giving back or just at work, that's been important to me. So had a chance from a mentee who came back to me when I encouraged her to move to Singapore. And a year later, she came back and said, I think you should come with me. And I said, oh, you're funny.
It's good for you, not me.
Yeah, first, let me exactly check the map. I know it's in Southeast Asia. And I supported her. She supported me, and I knew I was on a plane in one conversation. And I always tell students this as well, be open to those moments, those pivotal moments, because they can be life-changing. So spent nearly 4 years in Singapore, where I got to learn about APAC in Southeast Asia. I went there, and I was head of buyer and designer relations for Singapore Fashion Week for many years. I did a lot of head roles in merchandising as well. And it was through that networking and connection with people, helping young designers in Southeast Asia specifically figure out how can they commercialize their business, what would it take for them to build commercial success, looking from the east to the west. Fell into some consulting, which I loved, started my own consulting, went back to business school, and knew that corporate wasn't right where I wanted to be. And I wanted to continue this, development of supporting young people and young brands and all that good stuff. And so an opportunity with SCAD presented itself, and I figured this was the perfect mix of still being with industry as we are today, learning, connecting, as well as pouring into our future industry folks. So great.
Yeah. The research we collaborated on was done as part of the SCAD Pro program. It's an in-house innovation studio and partnership program. So can you tell us a little bit about the SCAD Pro program and how you work with industry? I mean, we're media, so it's a little bit different, but I went there, and one SCAD Pro, they were building an electric car. So nothing is too big for SCAD Pro.
Yeah. Well, that's an important place to start. Nothing is off limits. I mean, really at SCAD, like if you say it's impossible, we're like, no problem. So SCAD Pro is an amazing collaborative design studio where we essentially partner industry brands with students over a rigorous 10-week sprint. And they come together and they solve problems for companies and brands, or they provide insight on cultural relevance, future moments, whatever the case may be. But it's a learning and exchange space where students understand project management, design thinking, collaborative efforts. I mean, you have students who work across disciplines, across academic programs. So I just had another SCAD Pro this past quarter where I had illustration students, I had fashion marketing and management students, business of beauty and fashion, business of beauty and fragrance, and we all worked together to solve a problem. For the brands, what better way to tap into Gen Z? And what a great opportunity to build a pipeline of talent. Again, even if you are looking for marketing, but you find a UX student that could bring a unique perspective to your marketing world or the lens of packaging. It's a great place for shared ideas and moments. And it's long-term. We've had many partners such as BMW, Coty, L'Oreal, Laura Ashley, come into the Deloitte. So it's cross-industry, and they hang out with us for many quarters.
And it's not just for big brands either.
No, it's not just for big brands.
Don't get scared by all those big brand names, you smaller brands in here.
Yes.
No, because on our trip, I think there were students from 10 different disciplines. So Master of Fine Art Photography, UX designers, themed entertainment.
Yes.
That was something that I didn't even know you could get a major in.
Yes.
But it was really interesting. Maybe we can go to the framing of the project, because this was not just it wasn't just a, like, let's go travel and have fun for 2.5 weeks. These kids worked so hard. They were up early, they hit the market, and then they were doing classes at night and building out this research. Can you share a little bit about the framework and the methodology of the report we put together?
Sure. So initially, why Shanghai and Singapore? Two of the most innovative cities in Asia Pacific right now. That's Shanghai itself, the phygital innovation, and Singapore, a lab essentially of multicultural experiences for brands looking to enter APAC and to the West. And so we thought these were great places to start. And 28 students across these 10 different academic programs coming together with one goal over 3 weeks, which was to deliver academic work. So this is a course in which they receive academic credit. And our objective was to deliver a white paper where they could synthesize their insights into something that was a theme, a trend report that could be part of the global conversation about the future of retail. And so we wanted to put that out into the world. And essentially what we did is, absolutely, we led with primary research. We wanted to create an immersive program on ground where students were on retail safaris, actually in these brands that we read about, Gentle Monster, and we see these, wonderful artistic displays of, experiential retail, real time, physically. But we also spoke to brands. So we went in to visit the Red Ant Ages, the Coaches, the, Ushapal, et cetera. And we learned about what makes them successful. How do they navigate the region? What are some key things that we can take away, insights? And every day we had that work. And the students also had touch points with Kelly and professors, which was wonderful, a way to check in to see, are you going in the right direction? Are your insights relevant, evidence-based? Are they compelling? All that good stuff. So multiple checkpoints, making sure we're driving in the right direction. And ultimately, we're excited today to launch the final results. And this is all student work.
Yep.
From the creative into the writing into the research.
Yeah. So, I felt like, yes, I was an active participant, but I also felt like I was a fly on the wall. And the conversations that these students were having were honestly, I was blown away because I felt like was a conversation I would have with a colleague, like their observations. They would spend an entire bus trip talking about customer service and why don't we provide better customer service sort of in the US. That was one that kind of really stuck with me. And I think that, the observations they've had, I think it's not about, I think it's not necessarily about these observations being new. I think we will all have heard them before. I think the important thing to think about is that this is what they picked up on. So it was a Gen Z's perspective on Gen Z. So I think the lens is really sort of the important part. But can you run us through quickly sort of the 5 signals and trends?
Sure. So we picked up another great signal. So there are 6 ideas we really the students found as common themes. So the first one was really rooted in heritage, where the appreciation and the integration of artistic culture, Chinese elements, design integrated into the work. The second big one was multi-sensory brand worlds. And while that doesn't sound new in a sense, some of these brands, such as the short stories or Gentle Monster or short sentences, excuse me, really captured what it feels like to create more than just a physical space, but a third space. The third important one that we really reviewed was co-creation as the new standard. So there's personalization, sure, but there's true authorship when it comes to some of these brands that invited the consumer in to design real time without the brand losing its identity and creating that space for the consumer and Gen Z essentially to shout about this with their social friends and community. The fourth one we found that was really important were the physical ecosystems, the phygital ecosystems, super apps of, WeChat and RedNote and Alipay. The question was, why don't we have this? Why are we not able to shop, lifestyle, social, catch an Uber in a sense, Didi, which is the same as an Uber in Shanghai and China. All of this can be done. Brands themselves can create many programs, such as Louis Vuitton, who did that with their Louis ship. And you're integrating, you're keeping this seamless experience for the consumer on this one app. And the fifth one that we looked at really was looking at emotional anchors. And so the students fell in love with this little bear, which is a little stuffed animal bear on a coffee cup from a company called 13 de Marzo. And it was a viral moment on TikTok. And the students didn't realize that the brand actually is a ready-to-wear brand and sells quite expensive ready-to-wear clothing. but it's these viral lines, these shared moments, these communities
And
that
they
were
stood in
created.
line.
And they stood in line for hours just to collect and have a snapshot of this small little bear. And we do have that in our marketplace today
Yep.
to share. And then lastly, it was the service journey.
Yep.
That was the sixth one. Very impressed the students with the level, the personal touch of service. And I think that was possible though, and the students highlighted this in their work, because the tech and the logistics and the apps, the physical moments, were in the background, supporting and doing the heavy lifting of the work. And the associates actually could focus on building that real-time relationship with the consumer in the space and continue that when they left the store. And
Yeah.
the students really loved that.
I think that one was interesting to me as well because you're in college, so almost all of them had a retail experience,
Yes.
and so they're like, well, if someone had asked me that question, I would have just gone back, pretended I was looking for something, knowing we didn't have it, and come out, and they're like, and we all do that, but why do we do that? And they were really questioning why we provide the service we do in sort of the Western market. Um, and it was something that they talked about a lot. And I think they were sort of questioning the service they provided to customers.
Absolutely. And these are why these moments are pivotal
Yeah.
and transformative professionally and personally. So that's right.
I mean, I think one of the things that I guess that I took away from this, and sort of the work with these students is that we're sort of capturing them at a really unique time. So they've had internships, they've had some maybe high school jobs. They're still in school. So this was everything from undergrad through graduate,
Yeah.
so different levels. But there was like this pure intellectual curiosity that went into this work because it wasn't encumbered by a business outcome. And so that moment in time, as soon as they get their diploma and they get their first real job, like their perception is going to totally change. That sort of like just asking questions to ask questions to learn, without being judged in
Yeah.
the context of business. And I thought, to me, because in some of these meetings we had with partners, these questions were hard. They were not shy.
Yes. Well, that's one of the things that we did as well. And first, again, thank you to you and the Matter team for being open to listening to them, to engaging in those
Yeah.
conversations from a genuine place, because they want to learn and they want to share this information in their work in school and even beyond. But they also do a lot of pre-quarter work. They are prepared for these conversations. They are ready with the questions. They are ready to take their meetings. That's the standard. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I think that the student's lens is so unique. And I think, every time there's a new generational cohort that comes into the workplace, there's, the challenge with integrating them. But I think our businesses now, I mean, some businesses have 4 generations working. And I think that there's such a unique opportunity when you can have sort of cross-generational conversations.
absolutely.
What advice I mean, you're in it with these kids.
Yes.
What advice would you give to business owners on how to get the best out of this generation?
That's a great question. So number one, I think even in us, they are looking for the future as well. They're looking towards the future. So one of the things that the students, we challenge them is, okay, so what of it all? Now that you've done this work, now that you've thought about this, now that you've been to this experience, what would you tell people? What are the key questions you want them to think about? So number one, I would say listen, have genuine conversations, be open. Number two, their questions are great. They're even looking to Gen Alpha. So they are saying, hey, we are Gen Z. We're curious about how our values and how our purchases behaviors will change. But we have brothers and sisters. We have nieces and nephews, or whatever the case may be. And we want to help Gen Alpha when we get into the world. And I think number three, let them create, let them fail. They're resilient. They're extremely resilient.
So there was not anything that did not happen on this trip.
No.
Lost passports, lost phones,
Lost people at
lost people, hospitals. Like there was not anything that did not
We
happen on
found
this
them.
trip.
We found them. They were
Yes,
safe.
it all, no one was left
No.
behind. Um, but I will also say it was for a lot of these students the first time that they had
Yes.
traveled outside of the U.S. and they landed in Shanghai, which is not the easiest place to travel, even sort of as a seasoned traveler. So they were getting haircuts. It was amazing.
Yeah, so the wonderful thing about Gen Z is they will lean all the way in with their authentic self. They will try something. They will let you know what works, what doesn't work for them. But it's great. Giving them the space to express themselves, they appreciate that and they will show up more and they do want to change and become better in a sense or grow. I will say that way. And I've learned a lot. I say, in academia, we get a chance every 10 weeks, specifically us at SCAD, to meet a new crop. So I'm perpetually working with 20-year-olds, which is nice, right? Keeps me young as well. So that's a fantastic way to, tap into the future and outlook as well.
I mean, we have a couple more minutes. I think if you would also share, because I think this was on my first trip to SCAD. My first thing was like, wow, my life might have been different if I knew SCAD existed when I went to college, instead of thinking I studied political science and I was going to be a lawyer. And well, this is how it turned out. But my first job was managing Benetton stores. My parents were thrilled. They had spent a ton of money for me to fold sweaters. But the interesting thing about SCAD to me is that all of the teaching is done in these real world scenarios. Even sort of senior projects are done as if they were in a business and having to deal with vendors.
Absolutely.
And it's really fascinating. Can you share a little bit about sort of the philosophy of education at SCAD?
Sure.
Because it's also an entrepreneurial, it was founded by an entrepreneur.
I mean, our wonderful, President Paula Wallace, who founded our school nearly 50 years ago, she herself believed in the power of creatives and that there's a future and we can make money as creatives. So this has been a fantastic space for those folks. But what happens in the classroom is that's why industry are faculty, because we like to bring that experience in real time for students to say, okay, here's a real world problem, here's research. We look at industry news every day in my classes to say, this is what's going on in the headlines. What do we think? What would you do if you were the CMO, if you were the CEO? How would you solve this potentially? And they have some amazing ideas. So that's one. I think the second thing is we give them the space. And you've many of times come to visit us to support with capstone and critique. We invite industry brands all the time. So if any of you are interested, please visit our booth. Down all the time to witness the great work that the students are having. They take these critiques and they integrate it into their work, and they have these wonderful portfolios when they graduate. A real work experience. This is how we solved it. This is what we've done. So it's a true application of industry work, real time. That when they graduate, they've gotten their feet wet.
Yep. So we're not going to do Q&A after this panel because we have two activations with SCAD. We have one downstairs and we have one up in the marketing room. So I think there are five or six SCAD folks here. Everything from the comms team to admissions to two professors. Melanie is on fashion, but there is also someone from the beauty and fragrance team. So if you have any questions, you are looking to fill positions, you're looking for interns, they're here and they will be more than happy to help you. And really, I hope you download and take a look at the students' work. We'll also be publishing it on BeautyMatter. There'll be a landing page, and we'd also love your feedback. I think it was pretty fantastic, and it was an awful lot of fun to do. But we'd also love to hear what you think as well. So thank you,
Thank you,
Melanie.
and we look forward to continuing the conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you.